Good day everybody. So you have reached to the point in the course that you learn almost everything needed to write the modern web application. So you learn about fundamental HTML elements, you learn about videos, about tables, you also learn about CSS, how to use CSS to format your web, and you also learn about JavaScript, using JavaScript to put the interactivity in your page. Today I will show you a small demonstrations how we put all things together to write a modern web page. As you see in the screen, this this is a very common structures of a website you see daily. We will implement a web page with a different part with the header. Here you can put a logo or you can put a banner photo, but I only put the text lecture element as a heading as a placeholder. We also have the footer where you can put the copyright information. So this text, this web is mainly taken from the W3 school, so we have the copyright here, but of course it has been simplified a lot. You can put the menu navigation bar inside the header part, but they're also very common that you have it in either side of your page. Here we have the left side areas for the menu links, and in the right hand side we also have another column to showing other informations, and in the middle is the main informations, main class. And here we have one heading, one paragraph, we use one link, and we put a table. We have an image here. Under the image we have a multimedia object and point to a YouTube link. So you see we try out all different HTML elements that you have learned. And also we have a table in the end. So what's special with this web is that it implements the web responsive design principle. So let's try to change the size of the page. So at a certain point you see the navigation bar is not in the left hand side anymore, but it's go straight out after the header part. We do not see the video anymore, and the table structures have been changed in this screen size. And you also see that the about is not in the right hand side, but now it's go straight down and say right before the footer. The secret here for all the layouts and structures and also adjusting the appearance, show or hide and elements have been decided by using the CSS code. So before that we should firstly design the content, so write down on the content on the logical elements that we need. So the page actually will look like this before it is formatted using CSS. So we start with this step first. The first step to write down, include all the content of the web HTMLs in the order like this. And then in the second step we will do the formatting with the CSS style. So you always start with the simple structures of a HTML file like this. And here you see, maybe it's new to you, but it's already mentioned in the previous lecture, the viewport tag. The viewport is again the user's visible area of the web page. The viewport varies with devices and will be smaller on mobile phone than on a tablet, and it also smaller compared to a normal PC screen. And here you see two parameters that we use. The width equal to device width. That means that we set the width of the page that it follows the screen width of the device. and the initial scale, which means the initial zoom level. So this is more important when we look at it from a mobile side. So as the web static, as a web responsive design, so we really care about how it look like in the mobile device first. And we start with the main part. So we will have a header. We will have one part is the main part. We call div. We give it a class on. This is not the only way to give the structure of the page. You can use, for example, the navigation tab, and you also can use the main tag. So you can replace for this div. And we have the footer as well. And we do the indentation so it's easier for us to see. And now inside the header, as you remember, we do not have any photo or banner. We only have one heading, so we use a heading 1 and we select element. And in the footer, we only have the information about the copyright, so we can say copyright w3 school. So this is the logical appearance of the elements. So we have the header in the top and the footer in the end, and all the main information go into this class. So as you remember, we have in the left hand side is the navigation bar, in the middle is the main information, and in the right hand side we have is the about box. So here we can have the first thing is we create one div here, and of course we can use a navigation here, but we use a class as one of the possible way, and we use a main here to say about the main tab. So class, also give it class equal to main, but also we can use the main as a name to refer to when we define the CSS rule. Have the earth size. Of course, again here we can use div instead of earth size, but I just want to show you different opportunity that you can use the tags. And here we can say right, for example. So so we're starting with the menu. So the menu bar should consist of several hyperlinks or navigation links. So I already make it. I just copy and paste here to save time. So one thing we need to notice is that all of this link will share the same class called menu item, because we want they to be formatted in the same way. And now we start with the content, and every information, every tag you want to appear, you want it to appear in the central location of the page, should stay here. So as you remember, we have one heading. So as I already used H1 in the header, so the next level of heading I will use H2. So this just a logical representation. In case you want the H2 here appear, for example, larger size with the H1, we will do the CSS rule to format for this, but then we're not using it the other way. Push H2 here and H1 here. And inside these paragraphs, we have one hyperlink, and we give the titles and the header reference. We need to have also one image, so we use external links, and the source point to a URL, and we use the alternative features here. So this, in case the picture is not loaded, we will have an alternative text and image, and do not need a closing tag, so that is fine. And now we need to point to a video from YouTube as well, and we use the iframe for doing so. As you remember, we can use video to store and to display the multimedia video, or we can use object as well. So iframe is another way because we just inserted a frame in which have the content coming from outside. And this is the normal way, because when you open YouTube or any other or Vimeo, so video hosting platform, and you want to give the hyperlink to them, they can normally generate a code that you can copy and paste inside your page, and it take a form of iframe. And then we will have another part to have a table. So I would like to put the table inside a separate div, so we can easier to format it. So the table should have a table, everything stay inside the table. We use the captions, so that is a recommended practice to use on the descriptive tags for any HTML elements. And we use thit to show the table heading part, and here we use tr to show the column headers. We use th here instead of td because this is a table heading account. Note that we will do all the formatting later on in the CSS part instead. Do that amount period. And after this, we shall have the T body, and inside the T body is on the table information. So just copy and paste. So it should have a consistent structure with the heading. So every round will have like 4 cells. So you should always remember that when you open the tab, you should close it. As you use Sublime or other HTML editor tools, it will auto generate for you. So you don't have to remember about this. Just need to remember to click, for example, the tab. Like this, you don't have to remember. But when you do in the final exams, or you write with, for example, like very simple text editor that do not have this function, and you should always remember when you create certain HTML elements which require the close tab, you should have the close tab already also. And we have also some information here. So we have one heading and also one paragraph. All will be done like this. Yes, so this is pretty much about the first step. And so when we save it, we can open in browser to see how that look like. So it appears just like what we have here. So this is a very raw content of your page. Now in case you want it to appear like this, is the task of CSS. In part 2, we implement CSS code to give the designer outlook of the page. We can have 2 options. Either we create an external CSS file and use link tag to point to that file, or we can create everything inside the style tag. So I choose the second way for this because we can save some time linking to other file. And we need to put the style tag here. Start writing on the CSS inside. So first I will give some universal format. With the white cast symbol, it means that it applies to every HTML elements inside the documents. And we say that we want to say the box sizing equal to border. So box sizing property tells the browser what the sizing properties width and height should include. Border box should include border box of value, which means it will include content, padding, and border, but not the margin. And we can say about the font we want for all the elements inside the body. So we say body and font family. And we give a color. This one. Start do the formatting for other element as well, the image. As you see, there's two main value for the display properties. You can say inline. So with the inline value, the image will appear inside a paragraph, so as part of the paragraph. And here we use block value. Display equal to block mean the image will be displayed in its own box, like P or div tag. So the max width properly set the maximum width of the elements, so it appears for every HTML elements, and here we save the image. Now we start giving format for our structural elements. So for the header, we want something. We want the background of the header. Of course, you can choose the color by your own taste. Text line to be center. So this is actually only for the placeholder, but we just want to make it look a bit nice. Give some padding. So you already know the difference between padding and margin. So this belongs to CSS box model. Margin, we only give the margin top, so we don't want it to stick on the top size too much. And also we do the same, actually the same outline for the footer, so we only copy and change. Maybe we don't need to put it here. And now we do the formatting for the main area. We use overflow to auto, so it means that when the overflow is clipped, a scroll bar should be added to see the rest of the content. So how we see the overflow content. And we have a menu. We use a menu class, and for the menu we will say it now float to left. I hope you remember this property, because this is a very important property when we give layout for your page. Float to left specifies whether or not a box should float and in which directions. When it says left, that means it will follow the direction from left to right, so it put the second element next to the left after the first one, and then it put the next one on the right part of the element of the first one. And we use menu item to give the definition for the so the same, we give a background color to appear to the same padding and margin top. And for the main text, we put it inside the main class. And again we say float left, so that means when the menu is put at first, we put the main elements right in the right hand side of the menu. We give now we use the width to decide the structures, the divisions of the width for each of the horizontal elements. We will give the menu which appear in the left hand side like 20%. Yeah, I'll give the text alignment center too. So the menu 20%, the main 60%, and the right part put it 20%. It should be float left as well. So that means we put it after the menu. Now we put main and then we put the right. Follow from the left to right. You want to use the same background color. You also give the iframe formatting. So the position is set to relatives. That means in this case, compared to the normal position of iframe, we put it like 10 pixels down from the top. And for example, if we say like 10 pixels here, that means we added we move it like 10 pixels as well in the left position of it. So we have done quite some formatting for the page. Let's check out how it look like. So it's actually look very good now, quite close to what we have in the final touch. Of course we need to do some formatting for the table as well, but other than that it's look very good. And let's try to see, for example, with the main, if we change the flow from the left to right, what happens. Refresh, and then the main will be put like in the rightmost, so that means the about will come instead. So what if we change both and also this float? Then the menu navigation bar now will be put in the rightmost, and then the responsive side now is again, it will stay in the center, but the about will be in the leftmost. Let's just change the order of the navigation bar and the about bar. And remember here we need to have the sum of all this width to be 100%. Now let's do some more styling for the table. But for saving time, I will not typing out all of this. The table layout will describe the algorithm used to structure the table, and other than that is the normal CSS format with the border, margin, padding, and font size. The final step here is to write media query to adjust the appearance of certain HTML elements when changing the red browser size. As you remember, we use a media for media query. So we use only for screen, and we specify the width. So things can change when it go up, go down, less than 200 pixels. And inside this bracket, we'll give the new format. What happened when the page get smaller in the width than 620 pixels. So first we want to show the menu and the main part, and also the right box not appearing in the side, but instead appearing 100% and going from top to bottom. So for the menu, and for the right, we want to bring it to width 100% instead of 20% or 60%. So this will cause the part to fully show. Iframe scrolling. We don't want to show the video anymore, so the most simple way is to set the display to none. And now we want to change the format of the table. If you remember, yes, what we want to see, what we want to get, and the table will reformat itself from a tabulate structure to the list of round like this way. So this is a bit more complicated. We do some styling. We remove first. So we remove the border of table. We use the caption for the table here. And we don't want to show the table head anymore, the amount due date period. We use the overflow give to hidden and set it in a certain place. And we reformat every round. So we change again the borders for the round. We give it the display equal to block. So here you see around it appear like an inline display. And when we change to display equal to block, it will stay as its own box. Every round stay in its own box. And for the table data, it appears also as its own box as well, so it's not going in cell by cell like this, but it's go like from top to bottom, so list down on the data cells. And for the last, and we also want to say that for the last elements, we do not give any border. We save it, and now try to see what happened when we change. We get the table like what we want. So the main difference here is that every round appear as a block. Is going from top to bottom, and every cells in the round also appear in this way. So this is the source code that gives you a first simple but proper modern web layout, responsive. This file will be uploaded in Canvas as well. And I hope you take your time to learn about the structure again, because this will be one of the questions asked in the final exam.